Hello and welcome. I am Jonas or Franciska. It's I don't know. It's sort of like artist name on some tapes, but my real name is Jonas. In case anyone was wondering, and we're going to listen to a few tapes for the next hour. Gonna be weird, I guess. I don't know. So first up is a tape on Swedish label Early Music, and I think as far the artist who made this tape is named something like Rust Rose or something like that. It's a piano tape, and I think like I got this tape recommended from a friend who was like, "This is really like great solo piano music," and I guess I expected something quite different than what it actually is because it's really quite sort of uncomfortable piano music. It's a very 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 out of tune piano, maybe the most out of tune piano I've ever heard actually. Yeah, it's great. It's it's a weird tape. It's just like this sort of like monotone piano playing for 35 minutes, and we're going to listen to the start of it, the start of the B-side actually, and I think it starts now. I think, or in a second. Yes. Oh, I'll just stop it and start over again because this tape recorder only has sort of, sometimes it only plays in one channel. And let me see, does it play in both now? Yeah, it does. Perfect. Oh, and I have to remember to turn the microphone off. Yes, this tapes continues pretty much like this for yeah 40 minutes, and it's like I haven't listened this release in its entirety many times because it's a hard listen. Like it's yeah, but it's I really like this kind of sort of like pretty sort of radical acoustic music, because like I think in some ways it can be a bit harder to do sort of weird music on this, like an instrument like on a piano, because it's many ways like it's an instrument with a lot of tradition. But yeah, I really like when people sort of turn the idea of what like acoustic music is sort of upside down a bit. Yeah, next up is a tape which is a lot more sort of traditional, but but very very beautiful nonetheless. It's by Danish artist Mika Akim, and yeah, she does. I think she's actually from Sweden, but she's living here in Denmark, I think. Yeah, and she just like really sort of traditional Scandinavian folk music, but also with some inspiration from like new singer-songwriter, sort of like Joni Mitchell style music, and yeah, it's very 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 beautiful and very sort of simple music in a way, but very well composed and played. And yeah, this tape is titled Til Kroppen, and it came out in 2020, and she has released an LP, I think last year maybe also, which is a bit more sort of traditional songwriting based. This tape has a lot of instrumental pieces, and it's one of the instrumental pieces we're going to listen to. And now comes the moment where we see if I'm playing the right side of the tape. Yeah, I am. Great. we're slowly going to move into the next piece. Yeah, and I'm just going to find the tape and put it in the tape machine. So just a second. And check if it's the right one. This tape is titled Swedish Experimental Soundtracks. Yeah, it's a compilation of some recordings, old recordings from the 60s. Yeah, there isn't much context on the tape, but it's old pieces from, yeah, sort of Swedish art films. Yeah. It's released on a label named Private Edition, which is likely a sort of bootleg private press label. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much information, so I'll probably just keep it at that. Oh, I have a confession to make. This is the Swedish soundtrack tape I talked about. I put the wrong tape in the tape machine. Very professional. This is, but it's still Swedish, and it's still some weird industrial music with no context. And they sound quite a lot like each other. This is a project named Objekt from Malmö, which made 2 tapes and disappeared, and I don't know anything about it. But it's not from the 60s, it's from 2016. But the tape is by Objekt, entitled AM PM. Yeah, and sorry for spreading sort of fake news about what we're listening to. this project Objekt, which we're listening to, is quite interesting. Like it only made two cassettes in around 2016 and played a few live shows, and then the person behind the project kind of disappeared from the sort of experimental music world. And sort of those the two tapes got quite a lot of, I don't know if you can call it like hype, but like quite a lot of attention in the sort of Swedish industrial noise underground. The person who made the recordings is totally gone from the music world, and probably just, I don't know, living normal life, don't doing murky industrial music anymore. And I don't know, I can't blame her, like whatever. But it's great recordings, and they are definitely worthy of getting reshoot someday, because the tapes only came out in, I don't know, 50 copies, something like that. Next up is a sort of free improv tape I picked up maybe, I don't know, 8 years ago or something, and I had forgot everything about it until I found it in a drawer some weeks ago. But it's mostly just like sort of scrap metal being thrown around, and some what sounds like some kind of organ being played. It's yet another release which I can't find any information about anywhere. I'm just going to check that the tape recorder plays both channels of the tape, because it, for some reason, doesn't necessarily do that. This is very sort of like classic tape problem, I guess. I think it's working now. Next up, we're going to listen to some very promising new hash noise from Finland. There is this sort of, oh my god, there's this funny thing about like Finland, that it's a pretty small country, but maybe the country in Europe with most hash noise projects. And I really don't know why, but it also seems to me like a very sort of Finnish sort of thing somehow. Like, I don't know, like it. Yeah, but there's always new stuff coming out of Finland. And this tape is from a project named Rauda Kami. And it's like very, very homemade, sort of recycled cassette with some sort of handmade collage artwork. And the sounds are, it feels very, very homemade and very sort of private somehow, there is no sort of intent on this being listened to by anyone else. Yeah, it's a really great tape, and I think in somehow it also for me sort of connects to this sort of theme of like Scandinavian sort of folk music without being folk music in any sense, but it has this very, I don't know if it's just the sort of very homemade feel it has, but it feels very sort of Scandinavian, and yeah, it's a really great tape. We're going to listen to a few minutes when I can get the tape recorder to play both channels. Yeah, this is truly sort of authentic tape style. Now it works perfect. this tape, like even though the sounds are really harsh and it's pretty intense, this tape always makes me very, very happy. It's like it feels to me like very sort of joyous, like sort of, yeah, maybe sort of the hash noise equivalent to, I don't know, blues rock or like classic rock, or so, like sort of not no context or anything, just like the joy of banging on metal, scrap metal, and stuff feeding and cassette distortion. Next up is a tape from Norway, from the project Jordmenneske, which is surely not the sort of Norwegian way to say the project's name, but yeah, sorry. It's a great project. I think it's from Trondheim, as far as I know. Guy named Andreas, who's been putting out a lot of great recordings the last few years of sort of musik konkret, murky tape stuff. Yeah, it's great. Very timeless music, I would say. Yeah, and yeah, we're going to listen to a few minutes of this cassette. this recording is like 1 hour long, and we're not doing it just by playing only 5 minutes, but at the same time, I don't want to play too much of it because I want you to go out there and get the cassette to get the sort of full experience. Yeah, it's Jordmenneske is a lovely project. This tape is titled Havet or Puste. Yeah, it's like really sort of organic tape music, the way I like it. So early on in this episode, I made some kind of accidental cliffhanger by introducing the Swedish experimental soundtracks tapes and then playing another tape because I have no kind of radio host training. So yeah, this is pretty chaotic, as you can hear. But now I've actually found the tape of Swedish experimental soundtracks. On the label Private Edition, which I don't know anything about. The label has released this tape titled Document number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Document number 7, and the label has also released a compilation titled White Nights, which seems to be some kind of conceptual release about the Jonestown mass suicide. Yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff, and this tape of experimental soundtracks is also pretty heavy. We're going to listen to the first track on the tape. And this is, as I said early on, this is like recordings from the 50s and 60s, I think, like the earliest electronic music. Just a second. I am trying to get the tape machine to do as I wanted to. While the music you played, I found out that this piece is titled Interference, and it's by a person named Jan Mortensen. I don't know anything about him, but yeah, it's interesting that this music is so old. Like it's from the 60s, and it sounds pretty fresh and modern to my ears. Yeah, this tape is a bit hard to get, and it is not available online. But I really encourage you to go out and find a copy, because it's a great sort of document on sort of Scandinavian history of electronic music. I think there is one copy on Discogs for sale right now. Just saying. Next up is a personal favorite. It's an old tape by the Danish project Albino Groupie, which is I don't hope I'm telling a secret here, but it's the person who runs the Janushoved label today. It's his old project from when he was pretty young. And this tape came out on an American label, and it's titled Echo of the Eye. And it's one of my favorite sort of ambient tapes. It's very lovely and pretty weird. Like it's not sort of traditional ambient music, I would say. This tape is a absolute personal favorite of mine. It's I don't know, like I think a lot of sort of newer ambient music is very sort of hi-fi and very well produced, and I kind of miss this sort of totally murky sort of like really slow moving and sort of like primitive sounding ambient music. Yeah, it's really great. So, next up, this is getting interesting because I haven't heard this tape, but 2 minutes before I left my home today, the postman came by with 3 tapes from a Finnish project named, I think, Hippa Kirjat. And this is the newest one. I've only heard rumors about this project sort of circulating in the tape underground. I am very much looking forward to hearing it, but I think I can promise you that it's great. Let's hear it. great tape, this one. I like what I've heard until now. Um, it's funny with projects like this one, Hippakiriat, sort of this sort of music scene for sort of underground tape noise, industrial ambient stuff is pretty small. So like often rumors about certain projects can really sort of circulate. So yeah, and this music isn't available online. Like the only way to get the tapes is just to send the artist an email. So yeah, it's very sort of yeah, I really like discovering sort of new projects from this sort of scene. I think the next one here will be the last tape for today. It's an old tape from the project Viking Juice, which is the guy from Hannes from Lust for Youth, his sort of old ambient project from 2009 or 10 or something like that. And this project is amazing. It's sort of silly, happy new age music. Like people don't do this music anymore, and it's a shame. And this tape is great, and someone should make some kind of reissue box set of the Viking Juice tapes. Even though maybe, I don't know, maybe a few people would have interest in that, but I really think that this material should be reissued at some point. The tape is released on the great Swedish label Ytmarken, which was a sort of rehearsal space, record store venue in Gothenburg, also a tape label. Yeah. So Anton, who keeps track of everything, has kindly informed me that I have 5 more minutes. Yeah, so I have a tape here by a project from Malmö named Ake. Yeah, sort of industrial project. And yeah, there is very small but great scene in Malmö. Also, Abjekt. I played earlier on, even though it's a few years ago since she was active. But there is some good stuff going on, and yeah, Malmö is very close to Copenhagen, so I try to keep track of what's going on there. But Ake has been going for many years, and this is the newest tape from the project, I think. Yeah. Just a second. Maybe we can only get music in the left channel. Sorry. I think someone is trying to come in over here and something. Maybe. I'm not sure. Okay, I forgot to turn the microphone off. Classic.